Hello everyone, welcome back to Under Review. Today we have a very special guest, GameDay Conor. Thank you so much for coming on.
You're very welcome, Bri Mahn.
No, GameDay Bri.
Your GameDay Bri.
For this episode.
Copyright infringement.
Today we're going to talk all about the women's team, regular season, and looking forward to March. Let's start off with, we've had a bunch of good women's games this year. Which one did you think was their best performance?
Their best performance was actually one where they didn't get the dub, but that game against South Carolina, no doubt, was just them absolutely stepping up to a tier of basketball that was amazing to watch. Without a doubt, in my opinion, that was the best overall performance. We fell a few points short, but yeah.
I completely agree. Compared to that national championship game last year, I think they improved so much, especially with having almost a completely different team. Last year was a remarkable season, even though we did fall in the national championship. What do you think they'll need to do this year in order to get to that point to even bring home another chip?
I mean, listen, it's a great question. We know that we've dealt with kind of depletion issues throughout the course of the season, so it's going to be a tough path for sure. I think from my vantage point, we know we can do it. We know we can play against anybody on any day in the nation. So in order to bring home the chip, it's got to be a level of consistency and I think ball protection. I just think that when we possess the ball very well, we can do amazing things with it, and we can kind of control our own destiny. But for me, those are kind of two keys that we need to make sure that we're not giving the ball over a lot, and we need to make sure that we're consistent throughout the month of March.
I completely agree. A little bit different of a team this year just because of so many injuries, and we added a few familiar faces, but also a couple new ones. Anyone that came in this year that you've really enjoyed?
Anybody that came in this year that I've really enjoyed? I mean, listen, I'm just going to shout out Nika. She is my spirit animal. I love watching Nika game in and game out do her thing. I mean, I think I gotta back up on this one. Seeing some of the inconsistency that we've had with regards to playing time has been a challenge. So our rotation has been a little bit more limited. I've kind of watching what Caroline had to go through with kind of coming back and watching her make some of those clutch shots late in the season when she did come back was pretty remarkable. But Nika's I know that's not what you're asking me. That's my go-to answer.
No, that's a good go-to answer. Do you think, especially with her, she's a great player statistically, being the most single-season assist leader, but also she has such an energy. How do you think that impacts her game?
It's intangibles. I mean, the game of basketball so often comes down to what's not on the stat sheet that impacted everybody else on the stat sheet. So we know that she can distribute the ball. We know she can control the ball. We know that she can control pace. But she just impacts so many plays in so many different ways that those things that can't be measured just by a statistical score are something that she brings to the table in spades.
A lot of, sadly, injuries this season up and down. Has there been anyone that has improved really well or stuck out to you that you weren't expecting?
I mean, I've seen some games from Aubrey coming back from last year that were just off the charts. Her level of athleticism, her performance, her hustle, her ball handling, some of her shooting. When she's firing on all cylinders, she is an absolute joy to watch on the floor.
I completely agree. I also think, I don't know if you agree, but Aubrey's kind of rode back from injury, not being able to play at all last year, and now dominating. Do you think that's kind of hope for those players that are on the bench now?
I think she sets an example, right? She's somebody that had to overcome adversity, and she has to perform to a level that brings the rest of her teammates to elevate their performance. And I think that she has demonstrated that it can be done, right? You can get to that point, have to go through kind of getting back in the team and getting back into that groove and be an outstanding player. So with the injuries that we've faced as a team, knock on wood, we'll see, what's up with AZ and with Caroline kind of battling what she had to battle. I think that Aubrey is an example that has been set for what can be done when you come back on the floor.
I completely agree. We've seen some great games at Gamble this year. Such a supportive environment. And we saw last year, round of 32 and round of 64, that UCF game got close, and that legendary photo of Paige hyping up the crowd. How do you think that environment helps them during those rounds?
I mean, there is no doubt in my mind, in my role on the court and kind of being part of that environment, that our fan base can put points on the board, and we can take points off of the board for the opposing team. So to be able to be in that environment for us is obviously a tremendous advantage. I'm hopeful that that pays dividends and comes to fruition, after the whistle blows and the game starts. But for sure, there's no doubt and there's no denying the fact that in an environment like Gamble, it can be harder to hear when the students don't want you to hear what's be able to run your play call, and the support that our team can have, will make a difference on the scoreboard for sure.
Gamble, but even XL, having a home game, that South Carolina environment, how do you think those fans, that noise, impacts how the women play?
So, it gives them, I think, a sense of energy. It lifts them up when they need it. Sometimes, what's been really interesting is UConn basketball for so long, we've just been accustomed to winning, and accustomed to winning by a lot. And, you've heard Gino talk about it. This year has not been that year. It's difficult to win. And there's been games that have been a grind. And, a game like South Carolina, for example, where, we lost by a couple of points, but at the end of the day, we had a great performance. The environment, when you have a close game, and it teeters on, okay, you're going to be up a possession or two, or you're going to be down a possession or two. It can be easy to hang your head, I think. I'm not a Division I athlete, but I think it could be easy to hang your head. And when you have a fan base like ours who recognizes that this is the moment in the game where they need to get behind you, to carry you through, and to give you that energy, I've heard that a lot this season from our fan base, and I think that that's a difference maker to the players. I hope it is.
It's like the ultimate six man.
That should be on a t-shirt.
Yeah, it deserves a Big East
You're going to
award.
get your own t-shirt. It's going to just have hair coming down the It's just the ultimate six man.
Yeah.
The ultimate six man.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to have to trademark that. Okay, we saw the South Carolina game, but obviously so much competition in women's basketball as a whole, and we've fallen to a couple teams we didn't expect. Who do you think is going to be the toughest opponent to face in March?
I'm going to give you an answer that's not a real answer. I mean, I think that the toughest thing we have to overcome in March is ourselves. I think that we have shown we can go up against anybody in the country any day of the week, and if we play our basketball, we're going to be in it to win it. I think at times making sure we don't beat ourselves with turnovers or any of those kinds of things will be the thing that will make a difference in March. So I think we have the makings of, and we know with the depth of our bench overall, that we have one of, if not the best team in the country overall. If we can string it together in March and we can get past ourselves a little bit, we can take anybody.
I agree. I think last year a lot of people freaked out early, and where were we in the national championship? I think it's just obstacles to overcome, but we really do set the biggest roadblock in front of ourselves, but it's just kind of...
Yeah, I mean, listen, we know we can score, we know we can defend, we know we can rebound. When we put those things together, it's a heck of a performance, and if any of those, if we lapse in any of those areas, we know it can be tricky. I mean, the national championship, last year we came out a little bit flat. It was just tough. We didn't get the ball in the hoop, and it kind of set the tone for the rest of the game. It was amazing that we got there, and there was some of the best basketball I've ever seen us play leading up to that. And hopefully that just doesn't repeat itself, but we got a heck of a team.
I think one of the comforting things is that every game that we've lost, other than South Carolina, in my opinion, hasn't feel like a game we were going to win. So I feel like there's so much potential in each player. They just all have to show up at the same time, which I think wouldn't be comforting to some, but it kind of is, in the sense that we can come to the occasion. It just needs to be in certain moments, especially March.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I mean, we've had times where it felt like the game might have gotten away from us more than we would have expected even going into that game. And I think you're right. I think the South Carolina game was so amazing for so many different reasons, but you make a good point. I think, my hope is at any time at tip-off, we realize that we're there for a reason. We have a mission. We've got the players who can do it. We've got size. We've got shooting. We've got speed. We've got passing. I think if we can put those things together, there's not anybody who should look at us and say that they're going to roll over us.
I agree.
She agrees.
I tend to agree.
She tends to agree.
You just say the right thing.
I just say the right things.
Okay, so if anyone hasn't been watching UConn this season, decides to want to pick it up, how crazy do you think March Madness is, thinking back to the Elite Eight thriller that we had last year, ended up being SB nominated, our win over NC State? What do you think is the magic of March?
The thing is, everybody is playing for the same goal. And that campaign to get there brings out the best in everybody. I think UConn basketball has done so much for the sport. There is a talent level that's exceptional in the last couple of years, and to have everybody have a singular focus, which is to win a national championship, and to know that in order to get there, so many things have to go right, means that you get the best version of players so often, and throw in a little bit of luck. Just that right bounce, can make all the difference in the game. We see it time after time, and year after year in March Madness, where just that 10-0 run with a minute and a half to go, or that buzzer beater from half court that falls the right way. Everybody's trying to do the exact same thing. The talent level's incredible, and it brings out the best basketball, so that if all you do is turn on your TV in March to watch, you're going to catch some of the best games you'll ever see, but it means you would have missed out on everything that it took to get there.
That's a really
So I don't know what you're waiting for.
There's nothing to wait for. Start now.
If you're not a fan in November, you're not a fan in March.
I think there's something really special about our women's basketball team, because all of them are so passionate that I know that Nika Mule would want anything in the world other than sitting on the bus ride home from the Final Four. She wants to win a national championship so badly, as well as the rest of them. She said herself she doesn't watch that Arizona game from her freshman year because it rubs her the wrong way so much, that I think there's something in them that people don't expect. And as much as people say UConn's the underdog or they're number 9 or whatever it is, they rise to the occasion.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they've got the pedigree, they've had the teammates, they've got the coaching. We've got the environment here that has provided a culture of winning for years. And you've heard Gino talk about it. How hard it is to go into a recruit's house and say, listen, you can play for a lot of different teams. You've got the talent, but what's your work ethic? What's your passion level? What are those things that you can't really teach? And at the end of the day, he's got a legacy. I mean, his how many Final Fours in a row? 14 Final Fours in a row.
15 this year.
15 this year. Yeah. I mean, that takes a lot to be able to look somebody in the eye and say, if you want to play the highest caliber basketball at the highest level in college sports, this is where you want to come.
Yeah.
But everybody who has come to the University of Connecticut knows that. And we've seen talented players showcase, just talk to Lou, somebody who has just incredible talent. She went to a different institution. She was playing great ball, and she was able to step up on a stage at the University of Connecticut in a way she never would have gotten, on her previous team, and deliver, and be consistent, and be remarkable, and showcase her talents. Everybody who comes to the University of Connecticut has that capability. They wouldn't be here if they didn't. They don't want to lose. They didn't come here to lose.
And I think every year the tournament gets more competitive, and I think that people see it as a knock to UConn that they haven't won in so many years, but I think it's so entertaining how many upsets there were even in March Madness for women's. last year and even years before. I just think it proves a lot of credit to them, and I think it means so much more to win a title after not winning one for a while.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, listen, it's a challenge to win as much as UConn has won over the years. And for so long, we made it look effortless. Mm-hmm. And that's not the case anymore. And that's a great thing for the sport, in my opinion. It provides a lot more for us to watch. We might not love it because as fans, winning every year would just be the greatest thing in the world. But I also think that it shows the resilience of our fan base. It shows the resilience of our program. It puts us in a position when we bring our recruits in to say, this is not a given. This is not something that's handed to anybody. And you have to work for it. You have to earn it. You have to deliver. You have to perform. And, it will be very nice the moment we get that back in our hands again. Hopefully it's very soon. But at the same time, I just think the university has done so much for the sport itself that to be victims of our success in some ways is the ultimate compliment.
Yeah, he holds himself to his own standards.
Absolutely right.
And he said it himself. When you're winning so much, people think it's easy.
Correct.
And 11 national championships, I can tell you from my non-experience, is not easy.
I haven't won one. I mean,
no, me
honestly,
neither.
I haven't won one championship.
I hope to come home with one by the end
That'd be
of my
nice.
senior year. So overall, this season so far, in the regular season, ups, downs, injuries, everything you wouldn't expect. Amari DeBerry getting stuck on a plane, Aubrey Griffin having COVID. It's like things you just can't even make up.
Yep.
It's almost biblical. What do you think is the most valuable lesson to be taken away from them?
That despite circumstance that might not be controllable, the things you can control can still make you great. And through that greatness comes an appreciation from everybody who's sitting in the seat, game in and game out, that we are UConn basketball. I think, I hope that's a thing that all of our players throughout the seasons will carry with them. But yeah, when you face an adversity, when you face an injury, when you face a situation that you couldn't impact yourself, or control the outcome in the way that you otherwise wanted to, that's not a time to throw in the towel. That's a time to double down.
Yeah, I think Coach Rama has even said it himself. He's tired of the excuses, and not that they're not valid, but you just have to overcome them. No one's going to say, oh, we'll let you in the round of 32 because you have 2 injured players. You're UConn, and because you're UConn, you're held to a certain standard, and sometimes that's great, and sometimes it's not so great. But I think being able to overcome those excuses, and sometimes you play, in that South Carolina game, I would have never known our team was at a deficit. I would have just thought, wow, we have 5 really good starters. Yeah. So I think that as much as it's hurting them, it's only made their team stronger.
To use a phrase from my friend GameDay Bri, I couldn't agree more.
I tend to say that so much.